We saw this last week. I was talking about in the earlier segment how in the House, the Republican-led House, they kicked out the Speaker of the House, McCarthy, and now we have a interim House Speaker, and that is Patrick McHenry. Now, what's interesting about Patrick McHenry is that he's a Bitcoiner, and we know this because we remember from many, many years ago him testifying in the committees and saying, look, that Bitcoin is different. Bitcoin is decentralized. You can't stop Bitcoin. Bitcoin is different than other cryptocurrencies. Like, he gets it. Now, this is things that, unless you're deep in the weeds on Bitcoin, you don't understand. Most crypto people don't understand this, but McHenry does. And so it's pretty interesting that now, at this time, when we sort of have this antagonistic view against technology between Gary Gensler at the SEC, obviously Elizabeth Warren, and people like that, leading the charge, really trying to crack down on Bitcoin and crypto and just technology in general. We have this new interim House Speaker who is he's pro-Bitcoin. He's a Bitcoiner. And so I think this is a maybe shift that we're starting to see. At the same time, as I've been reporting over the last several weeks, we have Gary Gensler and the SEC coming under massive fire, under massive attacks from many sides. We have letters going around being circulated, getting signatures for his resignation. I talked about, I think a week or two ago, how there's actually a bill being put forward to actually change the way that the SEC is even made up, where there will no longer be Gary Gensler, there will no longer be a head of the SEC, and instead there would be just equal people on the SEC made up of both Republicans and Democrats to make it more even. And so we can see that the SEC is under massive fire. We can see that they've been sort of getting their, should I say, butts kicked a little bit, going to court, both in the XRP case. For example, they filed an appeal on that and lost that. That just happened this week. But we also saw, well, in that case, we saw that the SEC brought this action forward, and the judge said that, well, it's sort of a security, sort of not. I don't want to get into the weeds on that. We've talked about that before. But the important part is that the SEC didn't like that answer, and so they appealed it, and now the judge denied their appeal. So we see the SEC is sort of getting their butts handed to them over and over and over again. We're also seeing it on the ETF side. So the SEC continues to deny a spot ETF from going through for really no good reason, in my opinion, and continues to deny all the applications. And now a federal judge actually said the same thing. And so now members of Congress, I think now 4 members of Congress have signed a letter to the SEC saying you need to approve the spot ETF. And so we can see that this is starting to change. It's starting to change the makeup of, obviously, from the people. It's sort of like this, as I say, this decentralized revolution where the people get it. It works its way up into the government to the point now where we have lawmakers like Cynthia Lummis that are Bitcoiners. Tom Emmer, he's done really well, which actually his name is being thrown around for the Speaker of the House as well. We have the interim Speaker of the House, Patrick McHenry, who's a Bitcoiner. This is a big deal. That's a very big deal. Now, this isn't tradable information. It doesn't mean the price goes up on Bitcoin today or tomorrow, but it's the directionality that we're always trying to pick up. You know, one of the big objections I always hear from non-Bitcoiners is, what if the government just makes it illegal? Well, first of all, even if they make it illegal, what does that even mean? I mean, drugs are illegal, and yet they just continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger and more profitable every year. Not to compare Bitcoin to drugs, but making something illegal doesn't just make it go away. But when you have high-ranking politicians, high-ranking members of the government that are Bitcoiners, that are hard Bitcoiners, that are knowledgeable Bitcoiners, like Patrick McHenry in the House right now, or Tom Emmer, who could potentially be the Speaker of the House next, who continues to pass bills against CBDCs that are pro-Bitcoin, when you continue to see other lawmakers like Cynthia Lummis, you can see there's a changing of the guard. You can see they're going after Gary Gensler. They're trying to change the direction that their government's going. Now, of course, this doesn't mean it just changes overnight. We can see that there's lots of other actions happening at the same time. We have the battle over Binance is still raging on. That continues to go on. We have SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried from FTX, finally going on trial. Arguably the largest fraud case in history. And what's interesting is anybody who had their money caught up in FTX, I mean, you probably want to see him hang. I didn't have any money in FTX, but I still would like to see him pay. But it's been interesting to see what might happen because he was such a big political donor. There's a lot of speculation that maybe those political donations might protect him. It was interesting to see this week that the court case finally started. And at the same time as the court case started, a book came out by Michael Lewis, who's written many good books. You might recognize the book of The Big Short, which became a movie, The Big Short. He wrote Moneyball, some other good books that became movies as well. And I'm a fan. I've liked the books, I've liked the movies, and I think he's done a very good job in reporting and digging out the facts. Or maybe it's because I didn't understand the facts in the first place. I'm having to start to reconsider this because in this new book that he's putting out, he's painting Sam Bankman-Fried in a completely different light than what it looks like happened. So now it's making me think, did he really do his research? Did he really have an agenda maybe in these other stories as well? Some of the things that he's talking about was that he claims that Sam Bankman-Fried said that he could have paid off Trump $5 billion not to run. He said that Sam Bankman-Fried was planning to give $15 to $30 million to Republican Senator Mitch McConnell to defeat the Trumpier candidates in the Senate races. That one maybe I could believe. We know that Sam Bankman-Fried was the second largest donor behind George Soros, but not a good name to be put up there with. I would probably say Mitch McConnell is certainly a rhino. He's probably he's part of the Uniparty. Sure, he's a Republican. He's probably more of a Democrat than a Republican. So maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. But somehow you have to kind of put everything in question when you see this report. But the trial did begin. Sam Bankman-Fried is facing 7 counts of fraud, conspiracy, money laundering on his alleged use of FTX customer funds on the digital currency trading platform to cover losses at his hedge fund, which is Alameda Research. Now, there's a mountain of evidence that he's used these funds to purchase all types of other assets like real estate, covered personal expenses. His parents were pulling out funds. Of course, he's pled not guilty to this. But if he's convicted, if he's found guilty on all counts, he could face a sentence of up to 110 years in prison, which is less than Bernie Sanders has. Bernie Madoff, sorry. It'll be interesting. Will he face that time, or will his political benefactors come to his rescue? Now, this next question would be, if he's found guilty, will those political donations be clawed back?